You have a difficult time with the characterization that this was a suicide.
It wasn't. Jeremy would have never shot himself. Ever. He would not have done that to me and the kids. We were everything to him, and he was everything to us.
Oh my God! Stop right now! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground now!
But he had PTSD. He also had high anxiety. He also had bipolar. He was going to the VA for it. He was seeing a therapist and a psychologist.
911 was like extreme emergency.
Hey, we got a guy over here. He was going nuts at the CenturyLink Center in Bossier.
I don't know what's happening at CenturyLink. Oh, the gun went off. Holy.
When he left, did you have any indication that he might be in a psychiatric crisis or?
None. I would never let him leave. If I thought, you know, there was a problem.
Headquarters 233, go right. Get on the ground right now!
Channel 1's 1033, Channel 1's 1033 for units at CenturyLink.
Which 20 brag?
Signal 50 for units at a 2000 CenturyLink, 2000 CenturyLink, shots fired.
I didn't know what happened between the house and CenturyLink, which is only like a minute drive, minute two.
How hard is it for you still not having those answers?
You know, I don't see us getting answers. Nobody wants to talk. I'll never know what went through his mind or what made him go to CenturyLink. Those are questions I'll never get to answer.
Do you have worries seeing how your husband passed that the Bossier City Police Department doesn't have adequate training to deal with people suffering mental illness?
They do not. If you've seen the video, Jeremy was in his boxers. You can tell he had no weapon. You can tell there was something wrong with someone standing outside in their boxers. You know, that's not a normal person. The normal person's not gonna do that. Instead of pulling your gun out on them, you know, try to talk to them. Don't just, you know, come at them like that.
A video shows this whole accident.
They have two different camera angles of that red light.
I've watched the video of the wreck.
You got Mike stopped for 45 seconds with his blinker on, and then you see a pair of headlights come into the picture.
He had plenty of time to touch his brakes, slow down, swerve and miss Mike. He drank, chose to get behind the wheel.
He shouldn't have did what he did.
He was actually doing 70, I believe, in a 55-mile-an-hour speed zone.
He hit Mike right in his door and killed him instantly.
In April of 2017, Mike Humphrey's life came to an end, killed by a suspected drunk driver at this intersection on North Market Street in Shreveport.
It's premeditated murder in my eyes.
And while time is supposed to heal all wounds, for Mike's friends,
He was my best friend, my mentor.
the pain only grows, they say.
Mike actually lived with us for 3 years in our home and became part of our family.
Because 3.5 years later,
There's really not even been a step towards any closure.
the man arrested for Mike's death
He's not served over 5 hours in jail.
is nowhere close to standing trial.
God got us.
His name is L.C. Hearn. He's the man wearing the blue hat leaving court.
Jesus.
And according to a sheriff's report, Hearn admitted drinking before the deadly accident. His blood alcohol content tested above the legal limit, and surveillance cameras from a nearby restaurant captured the deadly wreck on tape.
He drank, chose to get behind the wheel, so he chose to kill Mike. If it wasn't Mike, it was going to be somebody else.
But despite a body of evidence,
That's not up to us.
the Caddo Parish District Attorney's Office is doing little to prosecute Hearn. In fact, since indicting the 66-year-old man for vehicular homicide, court records show prosecutors agreed to postpone the case for arguments and hearings 14 times.
There's no closure for nobody really right now at this point, the way they keep dragging it out.
A request for public records shows the Cattle DA's office charged 16 other people with vehicular homicide since 2014. 11 of those cases ended with defendants pleading guilty on average just 17 months after their arrest. And in 4 of the 5 active cases, prosecutors set 2020 trial dates. But more than 3 years into the Hearn case,
He should have to pay for what he took.
the DA hasn't asked the judge for a trial date.
They're postponing it, like they're going to throw it right out the door.
So the longer the case drags out,
I feel like it's going to be wiped off the books.
the more Mike's friends say they worry that Hearn won't go to jail, fearing the DA will eventually dismiss the case
He has a high-powered lawyer here in town.
because lawyers representing Hearn are major political donors to Caddo Parish DA James Stewart, contributing more than $30,000 to Stewart's campaigns over the past 5 years, according to campaign finance reports.
There's no doubt money plays a huge issue in what can be accomplished.
Stewart declined multiple interview requests for this story, with a spokesperson saying by email, "We will not comment on an open, active case."
We are no comment. No comment.
That response, basically the same one given by Hearn and his family when asked about the case outside the Caddo Parish Courthouse back in January.
I love your name.
Mike was 52 when Elsie Hearn killed him.
Frustrated, feeling like Hearn could walk away from justice,
And it's up to the courts to make him pay.
Mike's friends say all they can do now is pray and hope one day Hearn pays for the pain this fatal wreck caused.
We miss him every day because it's somebody else's decision, and that's not right.
Tonight we begin with what's described as troubling police videos out of DeSoto Parish. You're looking at dash and body cam footage obtained exclusively by KSLA. These videos raise questions over alleged excessive use of force by multiple sheriff deputies. Thanks for joining us tonight. Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron has spent 2 months digging into these incidents. He spoke with 2 men who tell him they were beaten up by the same deputy, and they now plan to sue the sheriff's office.
I ain't done nothing wrong. I ain't your hands behind your back. What?
A series of police videos
Sir, I ain't done nothing.
uncovered by KSLA Investigates.
He resisted?
Shown here for the first time is raising questions
Certainly there has to be an investigation.
over the use of force exercised by 2 sheriff deputies and a deputy jailer working for the DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Office. And recently, KSLA spoke with 2 of the men seen in the videos, Tony Fuller
First, I just threw up my hands and asked him why he hit me.
and Curtis Terrell,
He threw me down on the ground and arrested me. I was wondering why he doing it.
both arrested by Deputy Jason Algren after use of force incidents. Fuller's encounter
I didn't know why he was so mad.
took place in October 2018. Dashcam video shows Deputy Algren following this red PT Cruiser after the vehicle allegedly struck a metal pole at a gas station. Moments later, when the car stops at a Family Dollar store, 2 passengers exit and Algren starts questioning Fuller.
What'd you do over there? I ain't doing nothing over there.
When the deputy learns Fuller wasn't driving at the time of the accident, Algren tells him to go get the car's teenage driver inside the store. Fuller says no.
You're gonna do what I say. Go get him.
Turns to walk away.
Come here.
And the deputy punches him in the face from behind and then forcefully wrestles Fuller to the ground.
Put your hands behind your back.
resisting, sir.
Put your hands behind.
As soon as he got me on the ground, he tried to hold my head and scrub it against the cement. That's when I got mad.
Deputy Algren is then seen punching Fuller again.
Put your hands behind your back.
Yes, sir.
fuck you up, dude.
And arrest the young man.
You're resisting.
For allegedly resisting arrest.
I'm not resisting, sir.
That charge got dropped by the district attorney.
Where are you bleeding at?
But still traumatized by the incident.
As of now, I really feel like I don't need to be in DeSoto.
Fuller tells KSLA he's hired a lawyer and plans to sue Deputy Algren and the sheriff's office.
I really didn't do nothing wrong.
Terrell's encounter with Deputy Algren,
I don't know what he's doing. I ain't never seen a cop try to arrest somebody like that.
came in August 2019.
You all right?
Yes, sir.
When his wife called 911 asking for an ambulance after Terrell mixed prescription drugs with alcohol.
I wasn't trying to fight back. He's just trying to be rough.
Video shows Deputy Algren confronting Terrell on a dark road outside his home.
Walk to the front of my vehicle and I'm not going to tell you again. Okay, for what? Because I said.
Terrell is seen obeying the deputy's order, walking towards the dash camera while talking on his cell phone. But when Terrell gets to the front of Algren's police vehicle, the incident suddenly escalates.
I ain't done nothing wrong. How you turn his money back? What?
With the deputy tackling Fuller from behind.
Look, I'm not fighting.
I don't care.
And placing him under arrest for resisting. That case also got dropped by the DeSoto DA, but Terrell lost his job sitting in jail.
This seems to be some type of pattern with this officer and with the sheriff's department.
So he hired attorney Howard Conde, who is preparing a civil rights lawsuit against Algren, DPSO,
I think it's a clear incident of excessive use of force,
and Sheriff Jason Richardson.
We want to make sure that we put our stake in the ground as the top law enforcement in this area.
Richardson, who was sworn in as sheriff 2 years ago,
So help me God,
declined to be interviewed for this story. But Michael Tabman, a former FBI special agent in charge,
This was not de-escalation. This was provocation by the police officer.
spoke with KSLA after watching 2 more use of force episodes, including this dashcam video recorded in March 2019 showing DeSoto deputies responding to a fight at a car wash.
The officers go to break it up and they do it properly. You can see the rest of the crowd is helping. They're trying to keep these 2 guys from going back at each other.
But as Deputy William Bates, the officer closest to the camera, brings one suspect back towards his vehicle,
The guy was there and he was cooperating.
the deputy grabs the man's ponytail, yanking him to the ground, and in Tabman's opinion,
Yes, that was overly aggressive.
the force used by Deputy Bates looks excessive.
He doesn't seem to be doing anything aggressive that would warrant him to be taken down like that.
The final incident took place last September. The video doesn't capture a violent encounter.
This is certainly the kind of incident you want your chain of command to know about.
Instead, it's body camera footage from a Louisiana state trooper.
He resisted?
Showing a suspect who allegedly resisted a deputy jailer while getting booked into the DeSoto Parish Detention Center after his arrest for unauthorized use of a stolen vehicle.
You okay?
Once you accept custody of an individual, you're accepting responsibility for his safety.
Sources identify the jailer as Javaria Pouncey and tell KSLA he took custody of Brown for jail processing, but when Pouncey returns the suspect to the state trooper,
Can't answer any questions?
Brown's left eye appears swollen shut. His face looks bruised and beaten in the video and close to slipping unconscious.
You work anywhere?
Brown struggles to answer the trooper's questions.
You got a next of kin phone number or anything I can call? What's the name?
Eventually, Brown is heard asking the trooper for medical help.
You want to go to the hospital?
Disturbed by this incident,
Maybe he did resist, but we need to see evidence of that.
Tabman says internal and criminal investigations are needed here, saying all 4 incidents taken together
It does raise a concern.
raise a possible pattern of excessive use of force inside the DeSoto Parish Sheriff's Office.
When we see a pattern, we see a culture that needs to be changed, because that's sort of encouraging and endorsing that type of conduct.
Investigating this story, I wanted to make you aware whether the deputies you saw in the videos are still on the job in DeSoto Parish. According to information from a public records request, Deputy Algren was placed on paid administrative leave last August, but only after the DA indicted him for malfeasance in office in connection with the 2 violent encounters you just watched. Algren is pleading not guilty. Deputy Bates is still patrolling DeSoto Parish, and there is no public record of any internal investigation by the Sheriff's Office over his use of force. Now, Deputy Jailer Pouncey, he resigned according to the Sheriff's Office, but sources tell me there is now at least one ongoing criminal investigation of this incident. I'll keep you updated.
Thanks for joining us. New tonight, a Caddo Parish judge running for re-election faces theft allegations after this cell phone video appears to catch the judge and her brother with political opponents' campaign signs in the back of their pickup truck. Good evening, I'm Doug Warner. This exclusive video you're watching right now captures Judge Ramona Emanuel, a 25-year veteran of the Caddo Parish bench, in an awkward situation, trying to explain why, in the middle of a heated battle for re-election, the judge and her brother are driving around with her opponent's campaign signs. As KSLA Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron tells us, the judge could soon be answering legal questions now that a police report has been filed.
The woman crossing the street that you see me trying to question,
Judge Emanuel, can I ask you about this video?
is Caddo Parish District Court Judge Ramona Emanuel. This November, she's running for re-election. But right now, Judge Emanuel is avoiding questions that I want to ask.
Can you tell me what was going on? Did you all take these signs from someone's yard?
We did not.
About this cell phone video.
Oh, wow.
Appearing to show Judge Emanuel and her brother Leon with 2 of her opponent's campaign signs in the back of a truck.
There you go, that's the 2 I got this morning. Yeah.
It hurts. It's personal.
That's J. Antonio Florence, the candidate running against Judge Emanuel for her seat on the bench.
My people have been out there working, walking, knocking on doors, talking to the people, placing our signs.
Florence says Saturday his campaign manager was out driving when she saw a couple of Florence's campaign signs in the back seat of a blue pickup truck. Since the signs cost between $5 and $30 each.
And we're missing hundreds of dollars worth of signs.
Florence says his campaign manager started recording the encounter, only to find out
That person happened to be the brother of my opponent, Leon Emanuel.
Questioned about the signs by Florence's campaign manager.
I saw my signs in the window.
The judge's brother explains how they got 2 of Florence's campaign signs, saying he got permission to take the signs up.
You know how I get them?
How you got them?
I go and tell people who ain't running this, and they say they can move them.
And I gotta tell you, the optics look terrible.
France Bogart is a criminal defense lawyer in Baton Rouge. He says under Louisiana law, plucking campaign signs out of someone's front yard without permission is a crime.
So if you take a thing belonging to another with the intent to permanently deprive, it's called theft. Now, if you have consent to remove the sign, then it's not a crime.
Even after watching this video and hearing the judge say she planned to give the signs back to Florence, Bogart says there's still a lot of unanswered questions the judge probably needs to answer.
Why are they removing the sign themselves? Why not simply call the other opponent and say, hey, you shouldn't have your sign here? Or more to the point, have the homeowner or property owner remove the sign.
Skeptical of the judge and her brother's story.
Again, the video speaks for itself.
Florence says he filed a criminal report with Shreveport police. After KSLA Investigates got a copy of that report and the video,
I'm not able to make a comment, but I will later.
I caught up with Judge Emanuel to ask her questions about the cell phone footage and whether the judge played any part in picking up the signs.
I'll make a statement on it later. I hadn't seen it, so I can't.
You were there, though, Judge.
You're in the video, ma'am. But Judge Emanuel refused to talk. She even declined my invite to watch the recording. Judge, you're in the video.
Thank you, gentlemen. But I'm not going to watch it right now. I'm going to look at it, and then I'll make a statement.
But you were there. Can you tell me how you all came into possession of those signs? Eventually, the judge drove away without answering a single question about the video or Florence's campaign signs.
And these signs are expensive.
And while Florence says he initially hesitated to say anything about the incident,
there is an extra ethical duty placed upon judicial candidates.
After watching the video a few times, Florence says he felt the right thing to do was tell police, hoping they investigate Judge Emanuel, her brother, and the signs.
Regardless of the value of the sign, wrong is wrong, period.
Now, in my report, you heard Judge Emanuel tell me she'd issue a statement about this incident. That was 2 days ago. I called her office, leaving multiple messages asking for the judge's statement or a comment for this story. So far, I've heard nothing. I also called the Secretary of State's office to see if removing an opponent's campaign signs violates any election law. I'm told no, but officials in the Secretary of State's office said Florence did the right thing, notifying police and filing a report. Now, as you saw, we have a copy of that report, and it claims 17 signs valued at $600 have been stolen. Now, if Judge Emanuel decides to comment following my investigation tonight, we'll update this story. Live in the studio, I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron. It may come as a surprise to some, but Northwest Louisiana is cow country. With more than 2,500 small family ranches,
our average herd size is around 50 to 60 head of cows,
making a living off raising cattle.
This is a way of life for people.
And here in the Red River Valley, the cash cow,
Louisiana's a cow-calf state,
is the smallest member of the herd because most Louisiana ranchers sell their young livestock
through birth, through about a 7-month-old calf,
to beef producers operating in other states,
which makes us the starting point of the cattle industry.
And the cattle grazing these pastures,
that value is well over $100 million,
represent the largest agricultural product in Northwest Louisiana. But with COVID-19 shutting down meatpacking plants across the country,
we've had a breakdown in the processing end.
A bottleneck, if you will.
A lot of Red River Valley ranchers can't move their herds to market.
We are dependent upon the finished product, the retail product in the stores and the restaurants.
And those farms forced to sell cattle right now are getting butchered financially.
Around $120 to $150 a head loss.
And according to Marty Woolridge,
you're taking it on the chin,
a chairman with the Louisiana Farm Bureau, some local herds have lost a third of their value during the coronavirus outbreak.
With this much upset in the industry, everybody's feeling it.
A big problem is a lot of these producers aren't going to see the loss till later on in the year.
Lee Falk is a lifelong cattle rancher and a livestock agent with the LSU Ag Center. He worries the economic fallout of COVID-19
on a 1 to 10 scale, I would say I'm at an 8 as far as concerned.
Could cause a stampede of ranchers filing bankruptcy if the pandemic plays out much longer.
There's going to be some pain associated with this, and it's making life tough for ranchers right now.
And right now, tough times in the cattle industry also mean higher retail beef prices as some grocery stores struggle to keep red meat in stock.
As a producer, I just can't even fathom that.
While there are a handful of local ranchers like Woolridge who sell beef directly to local restaurants and small stores,
people need to be really thinking about more regional sources of their products.
Falk says consumer beef prices likely won't drop until meatpacking plants get back up to full speed.
So if we can get that cleared up, you should see a return to normalcy as far as meat availability at your local grocery store.
But Woolridge says there's another economic layer to this crisis.
We may just be a small family farm, but we do business with so many people for supplies on a daily basis.
He says struggling ranchers are pulling back when it comes to spending cash.
We got to do what we got to do.
In stores like Paul's Farm and Garden Supply.
40 pounds, that's correct.
Small businesses that depend on ranchers.
What affects one affects us all.
Coming in and buying just enough feed, seed, and other goods to help make ends meet.
You never would have convinced me that it would be what it is today.
While Falk is hopeful ranching in Louisiana will survive the pandemic, he warns if COVID-19 rebounds in the fall,
it would be devastating to our industry.
All bets are off when it comes to the economic pain a depressed cattle industry will inflict on every parish in the Red River Valley.
As you drive around our part of the world, you see a lot of cows, and sometimes you don't think about it, the economic impact that cow standing in the field has to our local economy.
So when will the bottleneck in the beef supply chain break and red meat prices return to their pre-COVID levels? Well, like a lot of things during this pandemic, experts and ranchers I spoke with say it's impossible to predict, telling me the virus will set the timetable. Now, President Trump's executive order keeping meat packing plants open did help, but when it comes to help, our local ranchers need it big time. You see, while Congress is helping ranchers with about $5.6 billion in emergency aid, one estimate has the industry as a whole losing more than $15 billion, and the ranchers I spoke with say very little of that cash is making its way to the Red River Valley, so it's going to be a long, hot, stressful summer for local cattle ranchers.